Okay, good morning, everybody. Sorry about the audio feedback there. Thanks for joining us this morning. My name is Angus McKeever, I'm the Legislative Auditor, Director of the Legislative Audit Division. Hopefully everybody can see and hear okay. Chris Dorrington just gave me a thumbs up, so that tells me that we're good to go on your end. This is the All Agency Entrance Conference for the statewide and single audit for fiscal year 2026. I'm sure everybody out there is as excited as we are to be embarking on our first ever annual federal single audit. It's a new era, new adventure for all of us. I'd just like to, before I hand off here to Alexa Odell, I'd like to just thank all of the folks out there. We have about 66 participants right now out amongst agencies. We advertised well in advance that this last biennial single audit, especially, and the transition period into the annual single audit was going to be interesting for everybody. I think it's proven to be pretty interesting. But I'm also very proud of the financial audit team, the effort that they've put in, the adaptability they've shown to be able to take on this challenge. We know we're not all the way there yet. We have some more progress to make. And we certainly expect that at least for a couple of cycles moving into the new annual schedule for single audit, we'll have other lessons to learn. But we appreciate again everybody being here this morning. I'm now going to hand over to Alexa Odell, Deputy Legislative Auditor for Financial Audits, and she's going to walk us through the rest of the agenda. Alexa.
Thanks, Angus. Yeah, I would echo some of Angus's sentiments too, that being really proud of the financial compliance team for we've stood up 2 different standalone audits in this last fiscal year for 2025, those being the statewide and the single audit. And that's instead of pulling information out of individual agency blue cover audits that we used to do, this has just a different feel for us, and people have been pretty great about making good decisions. And even though the timing, it delayed us a little bit, I think we're going to see it pay off some dividends in the years to come. So in the room today, we do have one brave soul from state agency with us here today, and also most of the managers from financial compliance function, as well as Kelly Zwang, who is going to be our contact for the single audit for 2026. And Katie Majerus will remain the audit contact for the 2026 statewide audit. Just as a reminder, we continue to transition under this new business model that requires the annual financial statement audits. Those are not necessarily new. Most of those come right out of state law and have been a requirement for a long time, including the ACFR audit or the statewide audit. But new for us is this transition to the annual single audit starting in 2026. And as we continue to move through this transition, we'll also be adding back in individual audits at state agencies on a risk basis. And that will probably begin to happen sometime in the next biennium. Just as a reminder, one of the new processes we started last year was sending an annual certification survey out to get the lead accountant and the agency director to acknowledge both management responsibilities and auditor responsibilities under an audit. So as an example, auditor responsibilities that you'll attest to are that the auditor is responsible for identifying risks, conducting work to address those risks, and then reporting their findings. There's several other things that auditors are responsible as well. I'm just giving you some examples. And as management's responsibilities, some examples would be to prepare the financial statements, to design internal controls and implement them, and to give auditors access to both staff and the information that we need to do our work. One of the other process changes that we made last year under these new 2 standalone engagements were to use kickoff meetings when the work begins. So generally that would be at either the department level, or if there are a lot of different things going on at a department, we would be looking at even program level kickoff meetings to just introduce each other, and sort of like an old entrance used to be, just on a more intimate basis. So between the auditors who will be doing the work and those that they'll be working with. And we also implemented a letter of expectation, which comes, the intent there is to come to an agreement on timeline. That worked much better for us this last cycle with the financial statement audits. And I think part of that has to do with, that's just very routine work that we've had to do in the same time frame for years and years. So it's always been annual financial statement audits that occur after the financial statements get prepared, and we're very accustomed to doing that. It wasn't as successful for the federal compliance work that we do under the single audit. I think what we're finding is when we lift just the single audit work out, it's and only focus on that, it has a very different feel, and we're going to talk about that on the next slide as well. So our team is, and I think your staff as well, are learning that there's just a new rhythm under this transition under the House Bill 132, the new financial model. Those standalone audits have a different feel, and the individual pieces of them kind of have a different feel as well. What we are finding is that when we're waiting for information, we don't have the ability to just sit and wait and not be productive somewhere. But when we're waiting for information at one agency or for one program, it's not like we have a bunch of other information in other audit work that we can go and pick up at that same agency. So often our attention shifts to another state agency. And then it's very difficult then to get the attention focused back when things do come in, when information does become available for us to audit. So any of those delays, we're going to just have to start working together, both sides of the table, to minimize them as much as we can. The landscape is also changing. We know that there's new GASB standards, new federal programs, and what we're also hearing is, and seeing, is some impact of turnover, especially at state agencies, and all of those, they're normal things, but they also are now having a bigger impact just on those day-to-day tasks that we do under this new model. So just continued attention to know that things continue to change. And one of the new changes is also the federal government's kickoff of this ARROW committee, the Audit Enforcement and Risk Oversight. I think they're a task force, maybe not a committee, but with the goal to strengthen accountability for persistent audit noncompliance among grant recipients. And this is related to the federal government, or the federal single audit, excuse me. And we're very excited that they've started to take some more interest in the single audit and in the federal government resolving or participating in resolution of audit findings. We historically haven't heard about much resolution from the federal government. So while we're very excited that they're ready to pay more attention to the federal single audit, the timing probably couldn't be worse for us in the state of Montana either. The Arrow task force says that they're going to use analytics, strong AI analytics, to identify chronic audit noncompliance, unresolved audit findings, and delinquent audit submissions. And quite frankly, all three of those are a problem right now in the state of Montana. 1 second here, I'm going to take a little drink. In the 2022-23 single audit, there were 79 audit findings, and about 50% of those were repeat findings. That audit was submitted late. This audit will be submitted late. And we're anticipating about a 50% repeat finding situation as well. Trying not to cough, excuse me. The other thing is, because we haven't started on the single audit for 26 yet, that will most likely be late as well. I can actually say it will be late because our attention will shift this fall to complete the ACFR audit. And that is also a piece of the single audit, so it's an important piece of that, but timely ACFR reporting is also a focus of the legislature and of our office and of the state as a whole. Another important piece to talk about here is findings resolution. So going back to the federal government's role in resolving or coming to a conclusion whether they stand up or affirm our audit findings or not. And you may start to see us reaching out to the federal government more to get their input on these things so that we can try to move past some of those issues or get through them collectively for the state as a whole more timely and not end up with more of those repeat findings. These next couple slides just say where we anticipate doing work for both statewide audit and for the single audit, but I'll just, as we're have these up on the screen for everyone, talk a little bit more about the timing for this end of the current single audit. We think that right now we'll get all our conclusions done around the first week of September. It is a very, very tight timeline for all agencies who are involved still with programs that are being audited. And when we do our exit conferences, it's going to be a very, very tight timeline on getting those written responses back from management as well. So we encourage you not to wait until exit to start writing your written response. And we'll do our best to be patient, but at the same time, in order to get this submitted, it will be a very tight timeline for everyone. Does anyone have questions? I'm not seeing any hands go up on Zoom. We did schedule this for a little bit longer in case we wanted to discuss questions after the recording for the meeting is stopped, if I'm able to do that on my own. So we'll give that a shot here in a second as well. I'll leave you with the contact information for myself, Katie, and Kelly, the contacts for the two audits that we're entering on today. You can expect that annual certification survey to come out next week. And remember, that's going to come to you in email. It's a survey that you'll the lead accountant and the agency director are each asked to complete. And last year we did have a little bit of a snafu with that, where people had clicked through all the way several times and didn't actually submit. So we can tell when that goes on, and we'll be hounding you just like we did last year if we have to reach out and make sure that the certification gets all the way completed. So at this point, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and see if I can stop the recording. But Angus, do you have anything else you'd like to add before we do that?
I don't think so, Alexa. I think that was a good summary for everybody. I hope that gives you a flavor of what we have coming up here in fiscal 26. We are happy to take any questions at this time. As Alexa said, we won't be recording this portion of the meeting. If somebody wants to bring something forward, I'd also welcome any comments, I suppose, that you have that you want to share with us. But I'd also emphasize that the team's available whenever you have questions here as we go through the remainder of this audit period. As am I. Most of you know where to find me one way or another, and we always welcome questions, comments, concerns, or feedback about how this process is going. Thanks, Alexa.
Alexa, could you flip back to the screen that just had the agencies listed for the state, for the audit sections?
Yep, I'm working on it. Too many clicks here. Okay, this one is the statewide list of agencies. I think most of the folks at these agencies are used to us coming to do audit work annually in support of the statewide audit. And then I'll switch to the single audit list as well. Well, we don't have any CFA data yet, of course, because the state fiscal year 26 hasn't officially closed yet, and you all haven't had time to prepare that that report. We do initially project that we're going to drop from 31 major federal programs this round to 26 or 27 for fiscal 26. Were there any other questions? Okay. How about any feedback you have for our team on letter of expectation agreements or suggestions for improvement, we're always willing to listen. If you don't want to share that today, you can do that at exit meetings or just with the audit contact or any of our managers as well.
No, this is Chris Norrington. One thing I would say, and I think you guys already heard this before, but the transition from the transition to single audit and the delay is it does have an effect on our federal programs. It depends on the program. Some are pretty understanding and appreciative that we're going to single audit, and others are pretty gritchy that we haven't submitted an audit response in within the timeline that the federal programs require. And so they use the big stick of holding the federal programs of funding out. I don't think they'll actually execute on that because we've been communicating the status as we go. But if you guys keep that in the front of your mind and are able to generate messaging, we can just copy, paste, and share. That's helpful. Thank you.
Is there a specific timing that would be most helpful to you?
I don't have a specific timing in mind.
Okay, well, we'd like to thank everyone again for joining us this morning. Just to reemphasize, at any time, if there are any questions or comments, we do encourage them, for you to get them our way. The communication process is always important as part of our audit work, but I hope everybody appreciates here as we go into this next couple of cycles, it's going to be even more important. So I'd like to thank Alexa and her team for putting this together, for all of you for joining us. And unless there aren't any other closing comments or questions, I think we'll wrap this up. Thank you, everybody.